Om Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Shri Krishna Paramatmane Namaha. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hey everybody, Simon here, and today I'm going to talk about the astrology of Bitcoin and cryptos and give you your July update. It's been a while since I've done a YouTube video, and partly because I've been renovating a house, and partly, well, that's actually the main reason. And a lot of I've noticed a lot of comments and certainly well thought out comments asking why even use astrology for something like Bitcoin or cryptos or money in general. And I want to address this before we get into my predictions for Bitcoin for the remainder of this year. And so a little philosophy before the practicality. So let's get into it. So first of all, these are valid and very good questions. And they presuppose a kind of new age love affair with spirituality having to be devoid of any materiality. But you have to understand that astrology would not have survived in any form, really, if it weren't able to predict practically mundane events. So in the old days, it was used really for the kings and queens of the world, and it was used to predict when war would happen, when drought or prosperity would come, the birth of great beings, things like this. And these are all material important matters. And one of them is, so when a drought happens, people die, right? People lose their ability to have prosperity and food. When a war happens, people die. They lose their ability to have prosperity, shelter, food, and a normal life. So astrology has always been used to predict the ups and downs of the human condition, because astrology is fundamentally human-centered. Its aim is to help us gain an understanding of why we're here and how we can best maximize this human experience. And people go, well, it's Vedic, so it should be spiritual. Well, the Vedic tradition is very, very material, believe it or not. Yes, of course, it talks about deities and gods, and the Upanishads are the highest form of spiritual literature, probably anywhere. They're the most lofty form of spiritual. These are the Upanishads, which summarize the Vedas. But the Vedas themselves talk a lot about material things, like how I can gain cattle, how my crops can grow, and so forth. And you only have to look at some of the very famous treatises from the Vedas, like the Shri Suktam, which calls on Lakshmi to come and give many, many cows, many servants, much prosperity. Jata Vedo Ma'avaha Tam Ma'avaha Jata Vedo Yasyam Yasyam Hiranyam Vindeyam Gamashvam Purushanaham. So I can get gold and servants and cows, meaning property, and all these things. Oh, give me these things, as well as good health and so forth. The Vedic peoples were unabashedly desirous of material things, material prosperity, because they understood that if they didn't have it, it would be very hard to live a full life. The Shri Rudram also talks about this: please heal my cows, my animals, and so forth. Even Krishna, if you don't believe me, just read the Bhagavad Gita, those of you who are Vedic people. Krishna tells Arjuna, he says, hey, the Vedas are about material stuff. Trigunya Vishaya Vedaha Nistrigunyo Bhavarjuna. Right? The Vedas are concerned with the Trigunas, the life, material life, manifest life. It says, go beyond that. Nirkshemam Atmavan. Be without the desire for the three gunas. Become Atmavan, become identified with your soul, not the three gunas, the body. Why? Because Trigunya Vishaya Vedaha, the Vedas are concerned with the three gunas. So Krishna himself said it. Don't blame me. Anyway, so the point is, astrology is also Trigunya Vishayaha. It is concerned with the three gunas, with when you're going to get a job, when you're going to get married, who is your right partner for marriage. These are all material things. So why astrology and Bitcoin? Well, because astrology represents everyday life. And today we have a truly once in a lifetime opportunity for the average person to generate generational wealth, to create that sustenance that we ask for in the Shri Suktam, that kind of protection that we ask for in the Shri Rudram, the kind of once in a lifetime ability to take care of the physical aspects of life. And just as, you know, corporate forces and so on and governments are trying to gain more and more control over the everyday person, so there is an opposing force. And I believe that those opposing forces arise simultaneously, like the Matrix movies, where there's Neo, but then there's, you know, Agent, what's his name? Smith, right? So there are always opposing forces that arise. So if there's one, you know, a great evil comes in the world, then a great sort of something will come to oppose it. If a great good comes in the world, a great evil will come to try to pull it down. There's always this kind of thing going on. So cryptos represent the democratization of finance in a way that it's never existed before. And so astrology is a mirror for life, and why not use it to see if we can predict something in this world of cryptos? So let's get into it. That's a little bit of the philosophy, and I'm trying to answer some of the questions that you guys have. If you have other questions, please feel free to add them below. And of course, I'm using a Vedic perspective, but truly, I use Western astrology as well. I use basically any tool we can get our hands on, because the astrology of Bitcoin is very complex. The main reason being is we don't know Bitcoin's real chart. There are, you know, there is the January 3rd chart, the Genesis block that is commonly used. But there is also the chart for the Bitcoin white paper, which is also commonly used. There is also the chart for January 9th, when Satoshi Nakamoto himself announced there was the first announcement of Bitcoin. That was January 9th. And there's also the first transaction, you could say, which is the pizza, you know, the first use of Bitcoin as a currency. And it had a time and a place. That's also a valid chart. So what to do? What do we use? Well, we use all of them. That's the short answer. And but even then, so that compounds our, you know, our understanding. But even then, how do we predict? And again, I'm going to spend 5 minutes on this. So if you want my Bitcoin prediction, just skip ahead. But there are 5 ways to predict. And this is very important for those of you who are astrologers out there. A lot of us become enamored with one technique because we see it works. Let's say Saturn transits Bitcoin's sun, or Pluto transits Bitcoin's sun, and the price crashes. And we're like, I got this. I predicted this, right? But how many times is Pluto going to transit Bitcoin's sun? Only once in 200 and something years. So if all you rely on is transits, you're missing out a hell of a lot. Yes, transits work. And even within transits are very complex. You can use, say, Saturn transiting Bitcoin's sun, or Pluto transit, and that did trigger a fall in Bitcoin's price. But what about points like the Yogi point? What about cusps? Now, if we have a cusp for Bitcoin of the ascendant, what about the part of fortune, right? These are all sensitive points that we can use for transits. But guess what? Sometimes Bitcoin's price moves when there are no transits, or just paltry little things, little sextiles, little tiny things that shouldn't really do much, and they don't do much. Then what? Well, there are transits happening in the sky, which is a large reason for the last dip. When planets go stationary, especially when a bunch of them combine together, when there's a solstice, when Jupiter's stationary, Saturn's stationary, and at the same time, some other things are going on, like, Dasha Bhukti or something in the progression. The more things that combine, the more sure your prediction will be. In 2018, we predicted the downfall of Bitcoin a number of times because Saturn transited not a planet, but the sound B in the sky. I've talked about this ad nauseum. In 2020, K2 transited that sound. Now, this is something Western astrologers don't have. They don't have this idea of the sounds built into the sky. So they're missing out on this technique. Likewise, Vedic astrologers don't have they really don't use progressions, solar arc directions, things like that. So they're missing out on those techniques. And I want you to think about this way. How many ways can a person improve their health? Well, think about it. Well, the most common is eating a healthy diet, right? And that's like transits. A lot of the time, that's going to help you out a lot. But what if you eat a healthy diet, but you're just an argumentative person and you get in fights with people, and one day someone decides to punch you in the face and breaks your nose? That's not good for your health, right? So eating a healthy diet isn't all there is to good health, right? What if you eat a very healthy diet, but you have terrible posture, right? You're looking at your phone every day. Well, over time, that's going to create problems. You're going to get back pain, sciatica, forward head syndrome, all those things. That's not good for your health, right? So eating a healthy diet, using that one technique, isn't going to save you from all the possible health issues. What if you're a terrible driver and you get in an accident? Eating a healthy diet didn't predict good health. So you have to use multiple techniques. What if you eat a healthy diet, but you don't sleep enough? You have a really bad daily routine. That's going to affect you. When you sleep, your brain has a lymphatic system in your brain, believe it or not, glymphatics, I believe. And at night, it purges the toxins from your brain. So if you don't get enough sleep, your brain literally gets a fog. That's because there's junk in there, lymph that needs to be cleared. And it's only cleared when you go out. Anyway, the point is, eating a healthy diet is not enough. Using only transits is not enough. Using only Dasha Bhukti, which is a Vedic technique, is not enough. Using only Prashna or Nimitta is not enough. So I've listed these 5 ways to predict, and myself included, we all fall into a rut. I rely a lot on Prashna, right? In our class, Crypto Questions Answered, we use that primarily as a source for predicting what token will be good, what coin will do well, what coin will not do well, etc. But that's not all there is. That's not the only way to be healthy, right? So I try to mix it up, but do we always use all 5 methods? No, unfortunately not. And that's why it's hard for astrologers to predict. All right. So having said that, and I say that because, again, do your own research. Everything I'm going to say starting now with predictions and stuff is we try to use as many methods as possible, but no one has the full picture. And some people predicted this last dip, others didn't. I didn't see it. Now, that's partly because my vision was on the end goal. And what is that end goal? Well, here it is. The end goal for me is that none of my predictions have really changed. That being that Ethereum will reach 6,000 to 8,000 before the end of this year. That is 2021, I believe. and the Bitcoin will be 60 to 70 again before the end of this year, probably a little bit higher. So now I know it already hits between 60 to 70, but I believe it's going to hit it again. So those two fundamental predictions are still in place. Nothing has changed them. In fact, if anything, this downturn that we experienced May 18th through today is July 6th, and it's probably going to continue for a little bit, is like a jumper coming down before they leap up once again. And I do believe that's what's going to happen. So let's go ahead and take a look at the charts. Now, if Bitcoin and Ethereum go up, that is also very good for the rest of the crypto market. So all of our top picks, Cardano, Polkadot, and a few others that we've picked in our crypto questions answered class, those should all do well, fingers crossed. We've had a pretty good, not a perfect sort of history of predicting the good coins, but a pretty good one. And, and I stand by that. So let's see. Now, let's take a look at, I want to take a look at something in, I want to take a look at these three Bitcoin charts and to kind of review what's happening. So if you look at the Bitcoin white paper chart, you will notice that their moon is at 16 degrees Scorpio. Now, this is set for noon. This is probably not the ascendant, it's probably earlier or later, but the point is K2 in the sky, the south node, is exactly on the white paper Bitcoin moon. That's always bad, always. And that could account for, at least in part, for this last dip. So there's an instance when the white paper chart is useful. Looking at the January 3rd chart, though, I want to take you here a little bit because I'm going to make a prediction right now. One of the cool things about the Vedic method is the use of something called the yogi point. And the yogi point is a place of prosperity. It has nothing to do with yogis or, asanas or anything like that. It's a point where your desires get fulfilled and you get prosperity. That point is at about 3 degrees, 25 minutes Pisces. Okay. Now, here's a cool thing. Jupiter in the sky by transit will be passing by this point April of 2022, which could signal a bullish period for Bitcoin. However, it's going to be transiting really fast. And when transits happen really quickly, they're usually not as dramatic. So what's going to happen is Jupiter is going to transit fast and he's going to come back in November of 2022. Okay. So while Jupiter is in Pisces, I expect there to be a very positive run for Bitcoin, particularly the spring and the fall. So April and then November of 2022. That's a year to a year and a half from now. And if you've been in Bitcoin for a while, you know how much difference a year can make. In 2020, Bitcoin was 3,000 in March. Now it's 30 something thousand, right? That's a 10x. So could there be another 10x for Bitcoin in about a year to a year and a half? Why not? Possible for it to reach 300,000. Those would be the dates I'm looking at. Now, for shorter term predictions, I already gave you. I think Bitcoin will be 60 to 70K this year, possibly a little bit higher. Okay. So, and it will reach those levels again. Because of this dip, it'll probably actually go a little higher. I've talked about it in other videos before, but my conservative prediction is 60 to 70, and then, taking most profits, maybe 50% off the table, and then 80 at 80K and then 90K, I'm taking profits. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Obviously, this is astrology. But at 80 and 90K, I'm probably taking more profits. But, people like Alex Mashinsky, who has been dead on with predicting Bitcoin's price. He's saying 160K before the end of the year. So it's not out of the question. I like to be conservative and not to hype things. So mine is 60 to 70 conservative bet, which is more than double from where it is now. Okay. And for Ethereum, 6 to 8K. I've told you that. And then by April, May of next year, it can get up to 20K, I think. Okay, that's based on astrology. So those are my Bitcoin Ethereum predictions. Why am I focusing on them? Because they tend to move the markets. Now, in the short term, I'm going to switch to the Western astrology chart here for a second and take a look at some things here. This is again, using the January 3rd chart. You can see when Mars opposed Saturn in the sky, there was a dip in the Bitcoin price. But these kinds of transits are always temporary. They last a few days. That's it. Unless it's a massive outer planet like Pluto or Uranus. But even then, it lasts a couple of weeks. There has to be a preponderance of heavy aspects for the price to stay very low for a long time, like a bear market. And there has to be a preponderance of positive things for it to go up. One of the things I'm looking forward to is Jupiter's transit over the natal Venus. Now, you see Jupiter's retro. Now, Jupiter did nothing when it transited going forward. Again, this is the idea that when planets go fast, when they go quickly over a point, it's like, zoom. Hey, was that the grand? Oh, yeah, I don't know. Right? You're going so fast, you don't even notice. But now on the way back, he's going to touch the 0 degrees. This 0 degrees, this is the tropical chart, by the way. This is 0 degrees in the tropical zodiac. When Jupiter touches this is also important, not just because it's Venus, it's actually the midpoint of the Jupiter and Moon. So this is an important point in addition to the fact that Venus is there. It's the midpoint of the Bitcoin's Jupiter and Moon. So when Jupiter transits here, this should be good for the price. So let's go forward and see when that will happen here. Going forward. By the way, when Venus opposes Saturn, this should be good. That's July 7th. See, Venus is going to oppose Saturn here. That should be pretty good for Bitcoin price. But let's keep going. I'm going to go forward. Oops, I missed it. Yeah, so right around here, this is the end of July, guys, July 25th. So the last week of July, I expect to be pumping major pumpamentals, okay, with Bitcoin price. So I'm making this on July 6th, you can see. Starting July 25th, 26th, we should see major pumpamentals out of Bitcoin, major green arrows, okay? Now, in August, there will probably be a slight recovery, a dip. That's when Saturn will oppose the ascendant of Bitcoin. Okay, that'll be August 5th, so the first week of August. So this major green candles, a little bit of a, the Saturn opposition here is never good. But again, transits are temporary, a week or so. And then we should be back in business. So major pumpamentals end of July, a little bit of a retracement, and then I think a continuation. So that's a short-term prediction for Bitcoin. And again, I'm just using one technique, right? I'm using transits. Now, Sun's opposition to Saturn, when the Sun is here, right on the ascendant, boom. That's first week of August. This should be interesting because Sun is ruler of the ascendant in the Western chart. but at the same time, it'll be opposite Saturn. So that'll be interesting. There'll be two things pulling in different directions. But fundamentally, last week of July, it looks very positive. So I think the magic starts to happen then. So let's see. All right. So that's basically my prediction. Now, I'm not introducing any new coins here because right now everything's depressed, which is actually the best time to buy. In our crypto questions answered class, I've gone over my top 12 coins and why I think they're the top 12. And a lot of them are what you think, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano. I also like Celsius and a few others, a few very little known tokens as well. But for the most part, the future looks good the next couple of years. But then this window will close. The window on cryptocurrencies will close, and that'll be it. So that's why this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And that's why I'm sharing my astrological insights as best I can. All right. I hope this was useful for you guys. If you have any questions, you can leave a comment, and we'll see you in the next one. Namo Vaha.